In this episode of Moved, we explore the complex relationship between funders and grantees. To do so, we recorded a conversation with Leslie Medine of On the Move and three distinguished public sector leaders.
Welcome to Moved, a web series about public sector leadership. My name is Leslie Medine. I'm the Senior Fellow at On the Move, and I'm very excited this morning to introduce you to three people who are joining the conversation.
Hi, I'm CJ Callan. I'm a trustee of the Whitman Institute and the CEO of the Youth Leadership Institute.
I'm John Esterly. I'm the Executive Director and a trustee of the Whitman Institute.
My name is Seeming Tam, United Way of the Bay Area, Vice President of Community Investment.
There's stacks of reports from lots of different people about how to do philanthropy differently. What I've observed sometimes with some of the larger foundations, that they see themselves as the agents of change. That's why they're forever in strategic planning. We're going to figure this out, and then we're going to find people to carry out our... So it's an essentially seeing grantees not necessarily as partners, but as contractors.
Oh, you know? Absolutely.
I do wish sometimes there was more willingness to also say, for our strategy, why don't we start from a place that the innovation is out there? Yeah. Our job is to find those people and organizations and support them and see what they do. Also, the traditional funder thing is, oh, well, I'm always the smartest person in the room. One funder said, oh, the sunflower effect. I walk in the room and everybody, you know. So you have this skepticism on the funder side that whoever they're talking with is just saying that stuff because they see a dollar sign above your head. Maybe the other side is, okay, I'm going to tell the funder what they want to hear. Yeah. These things build up that sense of distrust. I
just wanted to pick up on that because I just have this experience being a funder, but also doing education of new grant makers. And I remember sitting in a room when them saying, oh, CJ, everyone sees me as a dollar sign. I was like, duh. Well, of course they do. You are a dollar sign. But how do you own that, right? In a way that acknowledges the interdependence, but also that you have a special responsibility because you do own that power dynamic to kind of engage in a different way and let people know that there's now this open space where you can negotiate a new, more authentic relationship and not just say, oh, woe is me. People come for me for money, right? But now there's this opportunity to be in service to the sector. So it's not just about interdependence and we need each other, but because you own this power dynamic, that you have a responsibility to be more in service to the sector and to really think about what does it mean to be in service to. Even though you have all the money, you're still a servant. It's a very hard thing for people to understand, but it would totally shift the dynamic if people kind of came in that spirit, I think.
When I first joined United Way has this historical pass-through funding mentality, and so I had to influence and shift the internal culture in order for me to be able to actually form partnerships with the community groups. If I didn't shift that internal culture, I wouldn't be able to then have that type of relationships with the nonprofit organizations.
So would you say that because you've decided that this really is about partnership, we're figuring this out together, you're also able to establish this sense of trust from funder to grantee?
Part of the way that you establish that trust is, you know, I'm not just funding you to do certain things, but if you don't succeed, that means I fail also. And the funders have to signal and indicate that they're both in it together. And that if you fail, I fail. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to do everything beyond just funding to make sure that you succeed.
Because you both talked about success. You want to make sure somebody's successful. And of course, our goal is not to fail. Right. But sometimes you actually are going to fail in some ways and some parts. And in many funding relationships, that's not tolerated. So my question is, you know, for people who have been on the funder side, what about failure?
What about...
Failure's going to happen. So I think it's a funny thing. There's a lot of talk about risk-taking and, accepting failure within philanthropy. But I think it's more rhetoric than reality a lot of times. For us, it's you can define success, but then you realize you might not get there. So it's really then about, so what are you learning, and how are you incorporating that learning going forward?
Right.
It's also about if the partners that you gave this opportunity to actually learn from their failure takes ownership of it, and not saying the failure is because of all these external factors and so forth that we don't have any control of.
Yeah.
That's when you don't have a true working relationship with the folks, and you can't trust them because they're always passing off the blame to someone else.
I've been talking a lot about failure with my staff as a nonprofit leader, but most of all, I've been embracing failure and what it really means. And my new mantra is like to fail fast so we learn fast.
Yeah.
And so, but it's about more than learning. It's about taking that learning and using it to inform the way we move forward so that we do it better and that we can begin to find new, creative, innovative ways to make change. So to really embrace it as part of what we do, not something that we then apologize for, have to explain, right? So we model that with our funders.
Yeah.
I feel like that it's a way to give the funders some space to also begin to embrace failure within their own realm, right? To define it for themselves, but also to understand how important it is for us to get where we kind of all really want to go.
Yeah. From the nonprofit side, people don't bring their own sense of personal power. You have your own personal agency as a human being that you can bring to any relationship. Even if they're actually not treating you like you're an equal, you can still bring your personal authority to a relationship and act as if we really are in a level playing field. You don't have power in this relationship from a positional standpoint, but you can bring your whole self to it. How do we help ourselves and other people who are first doing this to at least initially act as if you don't even, if you feel like, what am I kidding? I'm going to go talk to this funder, and what's the motivation or the support it takes to have someone really be able to do that?
In order for the individual to have that true dialogue with the funders, they have to be in a position where they feel enough self-confidence about themselves that they're not afraid to lose anything. Once they are in that position where they feel that they're afraid to lose something, then that's when the power dynamic totally shifts.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And when you walk into a room, you're saying, I'm not here to gain anything, I'm not here to lose anything, I don't have it in the first place. And you just have that honest discussion, and there's nothing to lose. Then you can bring your true self to the table at that point, because you're just talking about where you want to go and what you want to do and so forth.
For how people can be different on the nonprofit side, I don't know if it's different, but the importance of clarity. Learned this from Pam David. She said she'll ask people when they come in, okay, so what do you really want to do?
Yeah.
And what do you think you need to do that? And let's start from there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times grantees or prospective grantees, they're coming in and thinking that they need to lowball in order to get the funding. Oh, we'll do it for just this amount of money and we can do all these things. And so I think part of it is, again, easier said than done, but it's the willingness to talk about what you really need in real dollars and cents.
I believe that people know when they're having a real conversation. You can feel it. You just know it. You're not that. No one's that dead to pretend. You know when something real is going on, and someone's just shown up, and then you can show up. And so I think that what I try to help people do is say, just show up. If you show up as yourself, the other person can show up. They might not, but at least you have. And so I think however you build the courage, I don't know, to have people just be their real selves or bring themselves to it, I don't think bad things can come of that.
One thing I'm struck by is when you said the word courage, right? And I'm thinking about, well, how do you shift this funder-grantee dynamic? And I think it's actually quite simple. It's an equation where courage meets humility. And when courage meets humility, you really have transformative relationships. You have authenticity, right? The funder comes with a sense of service, being in service, and humility, and the grant seeker doesn't forget his or her power and comes from a place of courage. Those
neat.
things together really will shift the dynamic.
So thank you so much for being with us this morning. It was really great to have you. You might be surprised that it wasn't so easy to find the right people for this. Not everybody's willing to disclose how they think and feel about this particular topic. Thank you for being with us, and we look forward to future episodes.
For more info, visit onthemovebayarea.org.